Wait, now hold up. Let's see what this began. Hey, how's it going? Well, if you read the title, this isn't a model kit review, but my channel is a hobby channel after all, so I decided to add another hobby. I for one have been a fan of this universe for years, and even wasted lots of money buying miniatures, and paintbrushes, and paints, and I've not painted a single thing, until now. It was just very intimidating at first. This is my first video of this type of style, so bear with me. Enough rambling, this video is pretty much just me assembling, customizing, and also painting my first miniatures. Well, that's a lie. This is actually my first painted miniature. Yes, this is my first ever finished painted miniature. I wanted to try the color scheme first before I painted a whole squad, and I actually like this quite a bit. And yes, I know there's many mistakes, but as a first time painter, this definitely built my confidence up. Also, this is the first time I ever used green stuff. I made that top knot all by myself. Hopefully I can apply this to the rest of the squad. And for my own lore reasons, I decided my first squad will be made up of Primaris and Firstborns. If you know the lore already, you may be wondering why I'm mixing the Primaris with the Firstborns. Realistically, I find it really weird to segregate units like this. But for the real reasons, it's because I bought a bunch of Space Marines Firstborns, so I'm not going to throw those away. Especially since they're so similar in usage when they could just work together. Oh, and TLDR, both are all Space Marines, except Primaris are essentially a new generation of super duper Marines, and Firstborns are the previous generations. But in reality, it's just Games Workshop making you scrap your old armies and buying these new miniatures. But I digress. I will be using kits from the Primaris Intercessors, the Horus Heresy Tactical Squad, basic Stumpy Marines, and some more bits here and there from other kits. And if you've never assembled miniatures before, if you made Gunpla or Zoids, this is a cakewalk. But pretty much they're small plastic soldiers, they're quite modular, allowing a lot of customization. The only thing different is that you probably need glue for the miniatures, and the dreadful task of painting, of course. Well, here are my first 6 assembled Marines, 3 Primaris, and then we have 3 Horus Heresy Tactical Marines. For easier painting, I left the backpacks off and stuck them on a sprue. And the heads I stuck on with some blue tack, because I want to paint them separately as well. This squad will be a 10-man tactical squad, so the other 4 will be good old-fashioned stumpies. I already got the parts ready. And so far, they're just mostly stuck on with blue tack, but here's what they look like. We got the heavy bolter guy, one with a las cannon, one which will be my apothecary, which is pretty much a medic. I just need to glue on the apothecary bits that I got from Etsy. That's why he's missing his left arm. And lastly, I got the sergeant, which is also missing an arm. Future me here, decided to scrap the sergeant because I wanted him in a more dynamic pose, so I'll be redoing him, probably in another video. But first, let's address my issues with scaling. These two are both Firstborn Tactical Marines, and here is a Primaris. Because of the lore, I know that Primaris are around a head taller, being only a little bit bigger than the Cadian Shock Trooper, so they're significantly shorter than the other 6 Marines. The Primaris and Horus Heresy stack pretty well with one another, while still reflecting the lore sizing. The Horus Heresy are actually Firstborn Marines, but they're new models with increased height. However, these other 4 Marines are a tad bit too short for my liking. So it looks like we're gonna have to get surgical. Like how modern day technology allows people to get taller through surgery. Not sure what the health implications will be. For this process, I'll be cutting the femur and the shins, just lengthening them by a little bit using plow plate, using the Horus Heresy Marines for height reference, because when they're side by side, it's easier to see what needs to be extended. And if this goes well, maybe one day I'll true scale them to Primaris size. So I got my hobby saw. I'll be cutting right here, right above the knee, to try to preserve the detail above the thigh. Then I'll be making a second cut in the middle of the shin. And once I'm finished with the cuts, I get my 2mm plow plate, which I bought from my local hobby store. I then cut 2 small squares. I then proceed to plastic glue both the thigh area and the plow plate to ensure a stronger connection when they're attached. After that, I glue on the knee, and then I do the exact same thing to the shin. However, instead of using 2mm, I use 0.5. Then I attach the rest of the legs, making sure that everything's aligned. Now, after waiting a bit for the glue to dry, just gonna use my hobby nipper to tidy up and cut off all the overhang from the plow plate. And right now I don't have to worry about the gaps because I will be filling them in with some green stuff later on. And this is how it should look like at the end, comparing it next to a Horus Heresy Marine. And as you can see, the length of the legs are now very similar. I prefer this way of true scaling because I believe it's more anatomically correct. I've seen videos of people elongating the torso or the shins, but in reality, the femur is the longest bone in the body. And seeing how well the proportions stack up with the Horus Heresy Marine, I think this is a good call. Well, being happy with the results, I proceed to do this with the other 3 Marines. And to see how they stack up, You got the mini marines I true scaled, the Horus Heresy marines, and the Primaris. And I gotta say, I do like the look of this, so at least having a squad full of Primaris and Firstborns won't look weird, especially after a paint job. And you might be wondering, hey, there's gonna be gaps between the legs. Well, no problem here. I got green stuff, well, blue and yellow stuff I'm gonna make into green stuff. And using the silicone brush, I pretty much just push the green stuff in there as fillers, smoothing out the legs. This is my first time doing this, so I don't expect it to be perfect, but as I true scale more marines, I'll probably get better at it. Now the fun part, customization on my marines. First thing is to remove all the Aquillas on the chest. This will serve a purpose later on. Using my clippers, I cut off as much as I can, then proceed to use my hobby knife to shave off the rest. After which I just sand everything down. I then apply some Mr. Cement plastic glue to melt a bit of the chest plate to make a smooth surface. And there you go, smooth chest, a little glossy, but we're going to cover it up with some paint and some gear. There's also a very important reason I'm doing this, not just for aesthetics. Being a futuristic, highly advanced military, where do they carry their extra ammo and equipment? Because this guy doesn't have any, these guys don't have any, and that's not exclusive to the artwork. Even the models, they don't have that much gear on them. Even though all the kits come with extra pouches, I don't see much of it being used. Comparing it to our modern military, I like the aesthetics of these loadouts more. So to add some uniqueness to my chapter, a smooth barren chest means you could put some equipment on it, also allowing each unit to look different. Every single combat operator needs a sidearm, and I'm going to use some bits from the infiltrator kits. They have lots of goodies here. For the specific marine, I'm going to use these ammo pouches and these combat blades. With these ammo pouches, I'm going to use my hobby knife to divide it into 2 pieces. Then I'm going to stick it on the belt over here on the side, and the larger pack onto the back. I did the exact same thing for these combat blades. It sucks how a lot of kits don't come with combat blades. Every warrior needs a close combat weapon. And for this guy, I'm going to stick him right on his shoulder, just like Emil from Halo. And I'm just using some sticky tack to see how I like the position of the arm right now. Now to add some small little detail, these pouches don't hold themselves up, so let's add a strap using some small green stuff. Then using my silicone brush, I'm going to just flatten it, just to give an illusion of a flat strap. And of course I do this on the other side. I also add a strap onto the shoulder pauldrons, and pretty much all these straps are just for aesthetics. And of course, because my chapter is a White Scar successor, let's add a couple top knots. Firstly, just going to make a small little hole for my hobby knife to make it easier to drill. Using my hand drill, just going to drill inside the head, and this bit is the exact same size as a paper clip, so I will be using that. Dabbing a small amount of super glue, and just stick the super glue side in. Then using my metal clippers, I'll clip it off, leaving a little bit of the end. And just throwing on a little bit of green stuff. I'm going to just shape it so it looks like a giant hair tie, just to add some texture. Now for the hair, just going to roll a small squiggly sausage. Then I'm going to fold it right at the middle. Then squish it right onto that piece we made earlier. And just pretty much move it around until you like how it looks. And of course you can't forget drilling out your barrels, or else how can they shoot? And as a newbie painter, I'm not going to trouble you seeing my painting process, but here are the end results. And yeah, that's it. This is my very first Space Marine squad. I am actually very happy with how they turned out. Could I have done better? In my head, I think probably, but chasing perfection is what stalled me into getting into the hobby. Wanting to make everything perfect and never being satisfied is a hurdle I'm glad I overcame. You also might be wondering, hey, it's a 9-man squad, where's the sergeant? I wasn't satisfied with the normal static pose my sergeant had, so I'm going to try to make a cool dynamic one. It'll be a good project. As for basing, I don't really know what type of basing I want to do yet, so it's bare bone right now. For some final thoughts, I definitely can improve on smoothing out the green stuff on the legs when I true scale them. They do look kind of rugged and bumpy, and there's still some noticeable gaps. But it's my first time doing this, so I'm not going to be too hard on myself. The Horse Heresy Mark 6 Marines look a lot better, definitely because you don't have to cut off the legs, and though I do need to get better when smoothing out the legs when I green stuff it, I gotta say the true scaling was a success. They look pretty good when compared to the Horse Heresy Marines and Primaris, only being like half a head shorter. Next time I'll try to make a mini Marine into the scale of a Primaris. That'll be fun. And here it is next to a Guardsman now, you can see, close to the proper proportions, with the whole squad lineup looking a lot more up to scale. As for the paint job, I think they all came out really well. Of course there's mistakes, but hey, that's the learning process. And being a successor of the White Scars, I tried my best adding these stripe patterns onto the legs and knees. The red didn't really contrast with the silver very well, so I used the black to actually make an outline for it. Gotta say, looks pretty good. And as I did more, they gradually got better. As you can see, the apothecary was like the first I did, and it doesn't look that great. And you might be wondering why an apothecary for the squad. It's for headcanon reasons, and I wanted to try painting white, which came out better than I thought. Also, what's a White Scar successor without some top nuts? They look pretty good considering this is my first time sculpting, but slowly enough I started getting better at making them. You also might be wondering why not every Marine has a top knot. I think that would make it too boring, so instead I would have them have a lock of hair attached to their weapons or shoulder pauldron. This is for my own lore reasons, because as scouts they can only become full Marines when another Marine vouches for them. This is by giving them a lock of their hair to symbolize that the scouts are finally ready to join the ranks of the battle companies. And yeah, that's it. Different type of content from what you might be used to. Don't worry, that's not going to stop me from doing any of my reviews. It's just an additional hobby that I'm getting into. But thanks for watching my video. I hope you like it. I enjoy making it. Let me know what you think. Are you into 40k? Do you have your own army or plan to start one? Do you even know what 40k is? Leave your thoughts in the comments below. And if you have any critiques about my design and paint job, let me know. Thanks again for watching. Take care. Bye.